Take a photo on your phone right now. 50 megapixels. It looks sharp, detailed, exactly the way your camera captured it. Now send the image to someone using the Google Messages app. What likely lands on the other phone? A crushed 1.9 megapixel image. In Android Authority's test, an image was crushed down to 1200 by 1600 pixels. The file size fell by 98%, from several megabytes in size to just 147 kilobytes. That was not the camera. That was not the carrier. That was not RCS being incapable of carrying the image. Android Authority tested this across multiple phones with multiple staff members in multiple countries. The same result happened. Google Messages destroyed the image quality. And here's what makes this worse. Samsung Messages already had the solution. There was a setting called Shared Image Quality. If you set it to original, the photo arrived the way you actually took it. No massive compression. No pretending a 1.9 megapixel copy was good enough. Same photo, same phone, same network. One messaging app preserved the whole quality. The other one destroyed it. On July 6, 2026, Samsung killed the app that preserved image quality for its affected United States Galaxy users. Then Samsung told those users to switch to Google Messages. Samsung retired a messaging app that did several basic things much better and directed its user base toward the replacement that often did them worse or not at all. I completely loathe it. 4 days after the shutdown of Samsung Messages, somebody posted on the Google Messages subreddit about spending a week with Google Messages. At first, they said they hated it. Then, the post got worse. They said they completely loathed it. They described Google Messages as unbelievably bad, almost comically bad. They said every step around every corner created frustration. And they openly questioned who designed it, who tested it, and who decided this was a good design. The post pulled close to 200 comments. A lot of people understood exactly what this person was talking about. This user also posted a list. Not vague nostalgia. Not, I don't like change. But an actual list of things they had lost or found worse after moving away from Samsung Messages. No favorite contacts. No obvious way to send the same message separately to multiple people without creating a group chat. No way to highlight only part of a message. Attachments, notifications, UI customization. Hold on to that list. We are going through it item by item and then more. Then I will show you when Google finally shipped some of those basic features. After that, I will show you something even worse. Google had a working accountability feature in their app. Then Google removed it suddenly with no announcement. This feature stayed gone for 7 whole months before coming back. what actually happened. Samsung put the shutdown announcement on a support page on their website. Here's the language that Samsung used. The Samsung Messages application would be discontinued in July 2026, and users should upgrade to Google Messages to maintain a consistent messaging experience on Android. Notice that one word, upgrade. Calling something an upgrade does not make it one automatically. Samsung Messages shipped on Galaxy phones beginning in 2010. The app survived 16 years. The shutdown took effect for U.S. users on July 6, 2026. It applies to Galaxy devices in the United States running Android 12 or newer. Devices on Android 11 or lower were to not be affected. Samsung said this is only a U.S. decision, and there is currently no announced plan to shut down Samsung Messages globally. This shutdown did not happen overnight. Samsung started backing away years earlier. In 2021, with the Samsung Galaxy S21, Samsung stopped making Samsung Messages the default SMS application on their phones. In 2024, Samsung stopped pre-installing it alongside Google Messages. Then the Galaxy S26 arrived without Samsung Messages installed entirely. You couldn't even download it on one of these phones. Samsung says your conversations transfer automatically and that the complete transfer can take up to roughly 24 hours depending on how much data you have. That is Samsung's guidance. It is not an independently verified guarantee. One group of people got an especially ugly deal. If you use a Tizen-powered Samsung watch, anything older than the Galaxy Watch 4, Google Messages cannot run on it. Those users permanently lost full conversation history on their wrist. Samsung retired a 17-year-old messaging app. And for affected users, the replacement was chosen for them. That is not even competition. That is a consolidation of power. The photo problem. In July 2024, Android Authority ran a controlled test. A Galaxy S24 Ultra sent an image, and a Pixel 8 Pro received it. Both devices were on the same carrier network. Google Messages had a setting called Send Photos Faster. It was enabled by default. With that setting enabled, a 50 megapixel photo arrived as a 1.9 megapixel image with a file size of only 147 kilobytes. 98% compression. But maybe that was just the Send Photos Faster setting, right? Turn it off and the problem disappears. No. The tester turned it off, and the compression level went from 98% to 93%. Those were your choices. Insanely compressed or very compressed. There was no simple option that said, send the photo I actually took at original quality. Android Authority then tested whether this was somehow a carrier limitation. Staff members for Android Authority around the world sent high-resolution photos using Google Messages. They still arrived crushed in their tests. Now compare that with Apple. Apple Messages sending over RCS did not compress the same images, roughly under 40 megabytes. And Samsung Messages already had an original quality image sending setting. Samsung could send a photo, Apple could send a photo, and Google Messages could send a photo, all at different quality levels. This was not Android failing. This was not the RCS protocol failing. This was Google Messages making a product decision that degraded your photo purposefully. Google began addressing the problem in a beta build in November 2024 with a per photo quality picker that included an original quality option. And look at the timing. Apple adopted RCS in 2024. Google started fixing the photo quality problem right as iPhone users were entering the RCS ecosystem and would start seeing those Android-sent images at lower quality. Can I prove that Google made the change because Apple was starting to use RCS? No. I cannot prove that. What I can prove is that Google tolerated the problem before that point and began fixing it in that same time window. The fix arrived when the quality difference was becoming much harder to hide. What Samsung actually did better. Now, let's go back to that Reddit complaint list we talked about earlier. Item by item. Item number 1. Favorite contacts. Favorites put the handful of people you actually communicate with constantly into their own area at the top of the screen. Samsung Messages had this. Google Messages does not. Google gives you pinned conversations. That is not the same feature. A pin holds a conversation. A favorite identifies a person. Samsung understood the difference between the two. Google still does not offer an equivalent to favorite contacts in the Google Messages app. 2. Sending one message to many people. Samsung Messages allowed you to select multiple recipients and send each person the same message individually. Nobody saw everybody else's phone number. Nobody got dumped into some gigantic accidental group chat. Google Messages technically has a mass text option buried in advanced settings. It exists, but it is buried. A huge number of ordinary users migrating from Samsung Messages do not even know it is there. 3. Highlighting part of a message. This should not even require explanation in 2026. But I'll explain it for you anyways. Someone sends you a paragraph. There is an address in the middle, or a confirmation number, or just one sentence out of the whole paragraph that you need to copy. Samsung Messages allowed you to select the part of the message that you wanted. Google Messages copies the whole message. Those two apps gave you two different choices when Samsung Messages was still around. That was basic text interaction, not some futuristic AI feature, just selecting text. 4. Attachments. Tap the gallery icon in Google Messages. You would reasonably expect it to open your gallery. Instead, Google opens a camera viewfinder that consumes most of the screen. Your photos are squeezed underneath it. Your conversation disappears behind this interface. If you simply want your gallery without launching the camera view, you have to hit the plus button and then choose Gallery. Google eventually separated camera and gallery inside the plus menu after many complaints. But the gallery-looking shortcut in the text field still takes you to the combined interface. This is the kind of design choice that Google Messages is full of. A simple action turned into an interface somebody apparently decided needed to be clever. 5. The recycle bin. Samsung Messages had a recycle bin. Deleted conversation, and it would sit there for 30 days. If you made a mistake, you could restore it. And Samsung gave you a toggle for this. Google Messages had no equivalent for years. Delete meant delete permanently. Then Google finally shipped a trash folder in early 2026 with the same basic principle idea. The same 30-day retention period. Roughly 5 years later, Google finally added a basic safety feature that Samsung users had already been living with. And by that point, Samsung Messages was already on its way out. 6. Folders. A folder lets you organize conversations into groups that make sense to you. Family, work, customers, bills, whatever you want. Google Messages still cannot do that in August 2026. You get spam filtering, archive, pins, stars, but that is not the same thing. Archive is not organization. Archive is where you throw something when you do not want to look at it anymore. Samsung gave users more control over their messaging environment and how it was organized. Google still does not. 7. Automatic cleanup. Samsung Messages had a setting called Delete Old Messages. Once a thread reached 1,000 messages, the oldest messages could automatically roll off. Google Messages still has no equivalent to automatic deletion. Your choices are delete individual messages manually or delete the entire conversation. That is all. If you have a conversation with your spouse or significant other that goes back 6 years, Google gives you essentially the same data management tools it gives someone with 20 text messages in a conversation. Do it manually or destroy the whole conversation thread. Number 8. Customization. Google Messages let users customize individual conversations and the whole app with their own colors, background themes, and images. Google Messages spent years just giving you preset bubble colors. Now, in 2026, Google has been rolling out a chat theme feature first spotted in a late May build. And this exposed yet another Google Messages problem. Some people have the chat theme feature in their version of the Google Messages app, and others do not. This is due to Google's standard practice of rolling things out in waves. When Google announces that a feature exists, or you see it online, that does not necessarily mean you have the feature yet. If chat themes are missing on your phone or your version of Google Messages, you have not done anything wrong. There is also no switch that you forgot to enable. Google simply has not decided that your account or device gets it yet. A feature shipping and a feature reaching your phone are two different dates in the Google Messages world. The release calendar. Now the problem gets bigger than Samsung Messages, because Samsung's feature advantage is only half of the story. The other half is looking at how long Google took to ship basic messaging features. Editing a sent message. Editing lets you fix a typo after you send the message. Apple shipped message editing with iOS 16 in September 2022. Google Messages code for editing appeared in December 2023. Beta testing rolled it out in February 2024. And the feature finally rolled out to all Google Messages users in May of 2024. This was about 20 months behind Apple. Editing a sent message only applies to RCS with a 15-minute window. This was not a revolutionary technological achievement. This was correcting a typo. Unsending a message. Google calls this delete for everyone. You send a message. You regret it. Then you can remove it from both sides instead of merely deleting your own copy. RCS Universal Profile 2.7 formally added message deletion in late June 2024. This was part of the very RCS standard that Google has spent years aggressively promoting. Google Messages put this feature into beta testing in May 2025. Then, stable release of this feature came out in June 2025. This took roughly a full year for Google to release. The RCS standard was ready. Google Messages was not. Again, Google was much too slow in another feature rollout. Group chat mentions. Type an @ symbol and somebody's name inside a group conversation, then that allows the person to get notified directly even if the conversation is muted. This is not groundbreaking technology. Teardowns of the Google Messages app found Google working on mentions in March 2025. Working screenshots appeared in May 2025. The feature officially launched in early 2026. Roughly a year of development and rollout for the ability to type at your name and send somebody a notification. Forwarding more than one message. Bulk forwarding means selecting several messages and forwarding them together. Until 2026, Google Messages made you forward messages essentially one at a time. You would select a message, open the three-dot menu, tap forward, then do it again, and again, and again, depending on how many times you wanted to forward that message. If you try selecting multiple messages, the forwarding menu will disappear. As of today's date, bulk forwarding is still in beta or in limited testing. Text formatting. Google Messages cannot do basic inline text formatting, like strike-through, underline, italic, or bold text. There is no long rollout to explain here. There is no coming soon. And as of today's date, text formatting in Google Messages does not exist. The read receipt redesign. Google changed the read receipt indicator and moved it into a little circle at the corner of the message bubble. That began Redesign in August 2024. It was still reaching broad availability in August 2026. A cosmetic read receipt redesign took 2 years to reach everybody's app. That sentence should embarrass a company with Google's resources. Google is a trillion-dollar company. What do they do with all their time? Play games and sip on coffee? Encryption. End-to-end encryption means the message is encrypted, so only the sender and recipient can see it. Your carrier is not supposed to be able to read the content. Google is not supposed to be able to read the content. Google enabled end-to-end encryption for one-to-one RCS chats in June 2021. Group conversations were left out of this. Group encryption was announced in December 2022 as a beta feature, roughly 18 months later. Then there was iPhone interoperability. Cross-platform encrypted RCS messaging took until May 11th, 2026 to implement. The GSMA announced support in March 2025. Apple began testing iPhone, Android interoperability in February 2026. It shipped with iOS 26.5. Apple still labels it as beta, and it still depends on carrier support for Universal Profile 3.0. For roughly 14 months after the Universal Profile 3.0 standard existed, messages crossing between these two platforms still did not have end-to-end encryption protection. This is the messaging system Google has spent years telling Android users is the way of the future. The regression. Everything I just showed you involves Google moving slowly. But this one is worse, because Google already had this feature. Then they removed it. That feature is edit history. Edit history lets you open an edited message and see what it said before somebody changed it. Think about why this matters. A contractor sends you a price. Later, they edit that number. Without edit history, the original statement disappears from the interface. Edit history gives the contractor accountability. Google Messages had it. Then in July 2025, Google redesigned the message details screen as part of Material 3 Expressive, and edit history disappeared. Google removed a working transparency feature. No announcement was made. Most people did not even realize this happened. A handful of users complained on Google's own support forums. Google finally restored this feature to Google Messages in February 2026. Google took an already working accountability feature out of their messaging application and left it missing for roughly 7 months. This is another embarrassment for Google when the app just breaks. So far, most of this video has been about design decisions and missing features. Now we get to a more fundamental problem. The messaging app failing at messaging. In early 2025, the Google Messages subreddit filled with complaints about media, blurry pictures, videos that would not load, attachments that took forever, the application slowing down, freezing, and a recurring error that simply said, "Can't load attachment." Google eventually acknowledged the problem publicly. A Google community manager said the company knew many users were experiencing frustrating media receiving problems, including slowdowns and failures. Google said updates were being rolled out to significantly improve media receiving performance and that it was committed to getting the experience right. Think about what Google was acknowledging. Not some obscure customization bug. Not whether a button should be round or square. The texting app could not reliably show users a picture somebody sent them. Google never publicly explained the cause. And because no application update was required, the evidence suggests at least part of the fix occurred server-side. Attachments showed up again on the July 2026 complaint list. This clearly means that Google did not fix attachments completely, and every user's frustration did not disappear. Here is what you can actually do. If you want to leave Google Messages, you still have options. You can use a third-party developed SMS and MMS only messaging app. But here's the catch. I'm not going to sugarcoat it either. RCS is the protocol that Google has spent years promoting as the replacement for SMS and MMS. Samsung started phasing out RCS support in Samsung Messages in 2025. At this point, Google Messages is effectively the only practical RCS client on Android devices. So if you leave Google Messages, you also leave RCS. Longtime viewers already know my position on RCS. RCS sucks. I hate it. Cancel it, disable it, throw it in the trash until it's fixed completely and open completely to every third-party developer. RCS may be becoming the industry standard messaging protocol, but the experience Android users have is overwhelmingly different than what Google would like you to believe it is. Here is the bottom line. Samsung Messages mattered because it existed. It gave Galaxy owners another serious first-party messaging application choice. It gave Google something to be compared against. Something users could switch to. Something capable of making Google Messages look bad when Google shipped a feature 5 years late, or simply did not ship a fix at all. That leverage is now gone for affected United States Samsung users. And that matters even if you never liked Samsung Messages. Even if you never used Samsung Messages. Even if you prefer Google Messages. Competition gives the market somewhere else to go. And if Google Messages is the only app available, Google has less reasons to keep you happy. Google Messages did not win because it proved, feature by feature, pound for pound, that Samsung Messages was obsolete. Samsung removed Samsung Messages from the fight. And now, Google has less competition than it had before. And that should bother every Android user. Go send yourself a high-resolution photo right now. Then check the dimensions and file size of what actually arrived. Put the numbers in the comments. I want to know how many Google Messages users are still sending one photo and receiving something dramatically worse. If you liked this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. Download the completely free SendSweep Lite messaging app from sendsweep.com now.